Attention, fans of Unfinished Business Television. We're thrilled to announce our proud partnership with Super 7, the ultimate destination for collectors and pop culture enthusiasts alike. When you shop at Super 7, you're not just getting amazing collectibles, you're supporting us. Use our exclusive link, super7.com/AJEPYX, and remember to enter the promo code AJEPYX at checkout. Your purchases help us bring you even better content, sharper production, and the quality you deserve. So what are you waiting for? Visit super74.com/AJEPYX today. Use promo code AJEPYX, and let's keep the good times rolling here at Unfinished Business Television.
Welcome back to another new episode of Unfinished Business Television. I am your host, Jeff Galashaw, also known as Unfinished B2 on social media. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Andre Joseph of AJ Epics Productions.
Very happy to have our priceless guest again.
Yes, we have a guest this week. Friend of the show, Aesha Waks, is here to talk about life in general and also the release of her new book, Swipe Again. And we are happy to have her on the show anytime. So thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure. It's good to see you guys.
Lovely to see you as always.
Yeah, so again, thank you again for coming on, Aesha. It's been a while since the last interview we did. So for the audience that hasn't seen you since then, how's life been treating you these days?
It's just been so crazy because I remember the three of us were talking right at the tail end of the pandemic. And so much has happened since then. I entered a Master's of Mental Health program. I'm taking that slow. I've currently remained a peer advocate. I've just come out with my new book, Swipe Again. I just went pro as a round card girl in boxing, and I'll be doing Madison Square Garden coming up. All my information is going to be on Instagram, which I know you guys post. And I'm also hosting the Winter Film Festival Awards, and we've decided to throw Andre Joseph cast and crew party after the awards ceremony. And oh yeah, and I just got onto a new magazine cover, Cute magazine. It's really beautiful. The job they did, you guys should check it out. And I'm sure I left a couple things out, but we could get into it and talk about anything you guys want.
Well, nice to know you're keeping busy.
Well, congrats on all your accomplishments thus far. And I know, I mean, there hasn't been too many film-related projects that we could talk to as of late, but let's talk about Swipe Again, being that this is building from your previous work, Swipe, and the other books that you've written. So what inspired you to write this one?
So everything has changed so drastically. Another book that you mentioned, Swipe, my original Swipe, times had really changed once the Swipe sites had come out. People became completely socially awkward in person. Everyone was depending on swiping to actually meet people. And things have progressed. And whereas the access is great, it's just a lot of things declined as well as far as human communication and everything that was going on post-pandemic, post-feminism, post years into the swipe scene. And I just felt it was my job to write about it. Very hard information to gather because it's all so new, and I had to do my own interviews and my own polls and have my own experiences to get the answers that I got in my new book, Swipe Again, which just came out on Barnes & Noble as well, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine like I've had conversations with people of a certain age who recall back in the days when you didn't have social media, you didn't have smartphones. And like, let's say you go to a party and pretty much everybody's just hanging out, they're talking to each other, they're engaging with one another. And once you started getting into like AOL chat rooms, and then eventually the rise of like a MySpace, a Facebook, Twitter, and so forth, then it just became like, yeah, like you said, everything became very socially isolated. There's always that moment at the party where everybody's just on their phones looking at a screen rather than enjoying and embracing the moment. And it definitely seems like now, and I know this definitely has affected the dating scene, is the fact that the pandemic made people even more isolated and more awkward to get out of their houses and apartments to meet new people.
Yes. Keep going. That's exactly what I mean.
So, go ahead, Joe.
Okay. No, I was wondering, do you think maybe that one of the reasons so many people are being so socially awkward, or also not looking in depth into like personal communications and anchors, might be this whole thing of coming so close to death with the pandemic that they have a fear of missing out, and they feel like a connection to somebody is like an anchor that's going to hold them. And, they don't want to mourn anymore. They just want to be happy and excited, especially as we're hit over the head. It seems like a lot of times with happiness and positivity and never acknowledging the negative.
There's a price to pay for everything. People are going to continue being greedy and hoarding other individuals for their own private reasons, which they're not even sharing. And then once they get what they came to get, you see the personalities change. It's selfishness, if I'm understanding your question right.
I guess.
What kind of research did you do as you were prepping for the book compared to when you did the previous one?
Now that the pandemic's over, I had the opportunity to get more out onto the street and interview a lot more people about their experiences. And a lot of people's experiences have been the same, especially with the most common one men tell me is women change their mind. They'll get like a woman's number, or they'll go out on several dates, and then the woman will ghost, never hear from her again. And of course, the man who invested his time and resources into these dates, he wants to know what's going on. And if not an in-person ending, at least a text or a phone call, even better. And when a lot of these men get a hold of these women, their reply was, in many of the cases I interviewed, I changed my mind. Okay. Not giving reasons why.
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question. Do they at least offer up an explanation? And
usually not, because they don't want to take the accountability.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's kind of like basically what we're seeing now, that, and this is for both men and women, that it's more of an impulse situation than instinctual when it comes to these dating sites and apps? Because I definitely feel like there was a time before all this where, you didn't have to be pitch perfect to make an impression. If you just let the relationship develop enough to where you gain that trust in that person, that could lead to other possibilities, both romantically, personally, even professionally. But now it just seems like you just have the one date just coming off of a series of chats on like Hinge or through Tinder or one of these apps, and then you get the date, and then that's it. You're cut off because of something that you're just going to spend the rest of your days figure out, what did I do wrong exactly?
A lot of people, they don't feel they owe an explanation. A lot of experiences that I had led me to believe how important it is for women to be upfront before meeting up with a man. I cannot tell you how many times throughout my life that a man felt it was his right to throw himself at me physically and actually touch me without permission. And so, because of the amount of times that happened, I learned that it's important to say in many occasions, hey, we've had some great chats. You want to go out and meet up in person and chill. A couple times, maybe once, twice, sometimes it takes a couple of times to see if you have chemistry, but I tend to say, keep in mind though, as we're figuring out if we want to move into the direction of dating or becoming companions, and we're both figuring that out to see if we're compatible, please don't treat this as an official date. Please don't throw yourself at me. Let's assess what's happening here this time, the next time, and decide what direction we want to move in. So don't make any assumptions just because you feel attraction that I'm going to be feeling the same way. You got to confirm that with me first,
That's interesting. Now, you said what men often complain about, but what what are women's complaints when it comes to men, other than what maybe you just said about like them throwing themselves or feeling entitled to something?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that goes along with resources as well. If a man cannot afford to take you to Nobu, don't take her to Nobu just to impress her. Bring her where you could afford. If you could afford Thai food, go there. If you could afford a walk in the park and coffee, go there. But don't start saving all your money. And just because a man brought a woman to a certain place, that does not give the man the right to now throw himself on top of a woman because of that. A lot of women I hear experience things like that. The biggest thing with women I've heard is it started with the whole ethical non-monogamy plight. Men feel like just because they're being honest about things, they can do whatever they want, and that's kind of transferred into the poly community, where someone will all they'll have to say is, "Look, I'm poly." And regardless what a person is, and I'm not judging. In fact, even though I write my books for people who want types of relationships, whether they be just monogamous or committed or just a companionship, the one thing that all relationships, no matter what they are, I feel need the foundation of is honesty with what you're trying to do there, intention wise, health wise, and just feeling comfortable with that person. So you could be ethically non-monogamous, you could be poly, you could be monogamous without being committed, and so on and so forth. But if you're lying to that person about what you're doing with your body, you're now putting that other person in harm's way. What a lot of people are not considering is a lot of these things are life-threatening, and legal comes into play, and people are just not thinking of the legal ramifications of putting other people's bodies in jeopardies as well.
So, we are a movie review show, and one of the films that Jeff exposed me to last year, and I was telling you a little bit about it the other day, is the movie Honora, which just got nominated for an Oscar. And we both agreed, like, that's a film that would have been perfect for you, given Mikey Madison's performance was like identical to something you would have done, not even like years ago, but you could have done that still today. And, the film does deal with, I think, something that is timely in that you have a girl that's a stripper who falls for one of her clients, this rich Russian kid who in essence becomes kind of her provider, but isn't upfront about a lot of things. And, is kind of like they get married, but then she's basically like a piece of furniture to him until things kind of go off the rails. And there's obviously more to that film, both comedically and dramatically, but it does kind of bring up the thought, and I'm wondering what you think of this with today's woman in society. There are feminists out there that are very strong, independent, and want to just be their own person, don't need to have a man catcalling them. But then you do have those instances of women who simply just want a guy that's going to provide for them and has that illusion of a fantasy that this guy could provide the car, the house, the picket fence, and the children. And sometimes that's not reality depending on the guy. So do you think that that in itself is like something that's generational, or is this something of a recent trend that is starting to become more and more of a, I would even say a little bit of an epidemic because of social media?
I think that it is generational. I think that our mothers and grandmothers and all the way far back, we were raised as old-fashioned women. And even though a lot of women came out as feminists and helped a lot of what was going on in the workplace, deep down, there's going to be some women that identify with their feminine and continue being old-fashioned. And then there's going to be some women that identify with their masculine empowerment. And there's going to be all types of women. And I think that at a certain point, feminism and being modern went so far that there's all these joke videos on TikTok and Instagram of women carrying men on their back, bringing men to ATMs, women getting on their knees and proposing. And it got so far. And one of my favorite podcasters, I think she's a comedian too, Aesha. She's kind of like started this fight against that, not women's empowerment, but women, sort of carrying men on their back thing. And I think it's coming on really strong right now, where women are coming off more so much as gold diggers. It's because they're fighting against the pinnacle of what happened to a lot of men riding off of the coattails of feminism. And that's just my opinion.
Well, I mean, do you think also, well, obviously media has a lot to do with it, but I've noticed like there's also this rise of reality shows of like, I think it's wags, wives and girlfriends, who seem to be maybe a little bit more comfortable kind of having the relationship, but also being the side piece, so to speak, so that they don't really have to, I guess, accept the responsibility of a relationship, but they get all, I guess, kind of the materialistic things out of the relationship. Um, do you think that also might have influenced maybe this generation of women, and not to mention men who watch these shows and like, oh, well, what do I need a relationship for if I can find, a woman like that?
I think that kind of stuff was happening anyway, but now that it's hit the surface, people have learned to accept it and be like, well, if that's going to happen anyway, may as well accept it and bank off of it and get something out of it type of thing. But I think that what no one's considering are the health risks that might be happening at the same time, because monogamy, the one-on-one thing where you get someone tested, you know who you're getting pregnant by. If you catch an STD, you know who it's coming from. Okay, you know if someone cheated on you if you got an STD. Now, if you're mixing up the petri dish, women are not knowing who the father is. People are not knowing where they're getting their STD from, if they unfortunately caught one. And you don't know who the father is that's going to raise a child. And some women are out there wanting to sue over STDs and they don't even know who to sue. Everything's gotten like so confusing now. And I think Hollywood has it right. I mean, there's a lot of short-term flings that happen in Hollywood, short-term relationships that might lead to long. They go on for a couple months. You see them all over the news. They both meet someone else and they move on. Almost call it monkey vining in a way. But at least during the couple of months that these celebrities are together, they know where each other's bodies are at. And then if they're caught in the press with someone else, they both move on. And at least you're going one at a time. Even if it's 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, you're going from one person to the next. But at least you could calculate who you're with and your physical safety at that time.
Now, going back to the book, so you write it pretty much in the first person perspective. How does that engage with the readers that you're targeting?
I feel like it's a chance for the people that do know me to feel like I'm talking directly to them. And for the people that never got a chance to meet me, a chance for them to hear my voice. And in an intimate setting where they feel like it's just one-on-one with me talking to them. My mother actually taught me this technique. She was, before she passed away, God rest her soul, she was a writing teacher, and she was also an art teacher as well for the Board of Education. And she said that her writing preference and her reading preference is when the author's talking directly to you, especially when you're reading self-help books.
Interesting.
But I know I wouldn't be on your guys' show unless I have had a long career as an actress so far, and that you're having me on here because I'm an actress with a cause to help people, to do charity, to help save people from these dilemmas. And I'll always be an actress, but I'll always have my causes as well. So I do appreciate the fact that even though we could talk a little bit more about my acting career, which we did on the last show, I appreciate you guys letting me talk about my cause also outside of acting. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
That actually adds to my follow-up question with that, because obviously you do the acting, you write, you do counseling, and how do you manage those roles and how do you find for them to intersect with one another?
So I first got into counseling because I was looking for shift work, and I really sucked as a waitress and a bartender. I kept dropping things on the floor, not knowing how to work the computer. And I was just looking for shift work, and therapy is shift work. And I do have a very flexible schedule after I got my certification. What first got me into that field in particular outside of the schedule is the fact that I'm analyzing characters all day, just as I did and as I do when I'm an actress on set getting a script. So I find it very similar, except in therapy, you're helping heal people after you analyze them, and in acting, you're playing the people that you analyze. So it's really similar to me.
Well, when you, let's say you read a new script, do you find yourself now, after, all your training, more or less analyzing the characters, but also seeing how it plays more into the plot line?
Being in therapy, having a master's education that I'm not done with under my belt, and actually spending time in the real world off of movie sets, being a real person, working at a clinic, and actually seeing what it's like, how normal people get treated, how people act within a clinical setting. It changed everything for me. I do think that it's helped me as an actress, and I feel like I could play a more diverse amount of people realistically now with the experience I have. It's true.
Now, with this book, obviously, one of the things that I think it addresses is how you do have people in the dating scene, both men and women, who will try to manipulate certain situations. Like, for example, if, say, that particular date wants to have only dates in expensive restaurants. They're not willing to go someplace that's moderately, cheap, expensive. They want to go like some high-end fancy place, expect their significant date to pay the bill and treat them a certain way, a certain standard. And sometimes it's an unwritten rule on the part of that person who may not know what's going on the other end. So does this book address how to navigate those type of manipulators in the dating scene?
I think here we're addressing the women, and I think it's really important if a woman demands a certain standard of restaurant and the man is not comfortable doing it, that, complete transparency takes place before even meeting up. Like, what are your expectations? How often do you expect to be treated this way? When you're in a relationship, how often do you expect to be treated that way outside of the dating context? And actually, like, gauge, is this the type of woman I want to be with? Or should I not even bother going on this date? Or is it just something innocent? Like, she's really wanted to try a new restaurant once or twice, but she admits that when she's in a relationship, she's more the type of person who's a homebody, likes to stay home and cook. Doesn't really expect that type of thing all the time. Like, it's really important to be upfront and find out maybe before the first date, even.
Well, It seems like communication, of course, is always key in any type of relationship, friendship uh, with another person. But it often sounds like everybody is wants kind of the same thing, but it's like everybody's speaking the same language, but they all seem to be kind of on different wavelengths. And maybe you're on the same one for a little bit, but then somehow get disconnected. And then sometimes, for the successful ones, they keep an open communication so that they're always on that same wavelength.
It's really hard to confront things that bother us as people. Sometimes the receiving end of that is the person flips out on you or shuts down or blocks. But I say just keep confronting. If it's a big enough issue where you want to address it, have the courage to do that. Because if you ever get into a point where you are in a relationship and you try to address things and that person's unwilling, well, that person's not fit to be in that type of relationship anyway. Why not save time? Find out sooner. Whatever's meant to be is going to be anyway.
True.
Now, obviously, being in the business for as long as you have, I know the two of us, we've talked about some of your stories of what you've been through with, being in those male-dominated sets and the experiences that you've had, which we're not going to name names in particular moments, but do those experiences also inform the information you provide in your book for people that may be on the outside but have dealt with similar situations in the workplace, maybe in the school system, and any other situation where you're kind of looked at a certain way, maybe you're catcalled, maybe certain moves that a guy would make that would be very uncomfortable in a professional environment?
Yeah, it's like a power play. I do have a chapter on that talking about the Me Too thing. And I do feel really bad for men that get dragged into this type of thing when they really didn't mean any harm. But I also feel bad for the women that did have that quid pro quo put over their heads. And I mean, in the past, like Archie Bunker, Andrew Dice Clay, the entertainment was different. People just said what was on their mind. And in the past, people might even be like, hey, sleep with me, I'll give you this role. Just, the way people talk before the definition of the word liberal became PC, things changed. So basically, I'm not saying that people don't still harass, but they're not going to offer you anything in exchange. So I feel like a lot of actresses are like, okay, he's trying to hit on me. Does that mean I'm going to lose the movie role if I say no, even though he didn't promise it to me? If I did what he wanted to do, should I just stay in his good graces? It's more of that kind of covert type of thing going on now. I'm not saying that a lot of actresses don't dream of marrying their producer so they could have their marriage and they could have their career set out for them. But in a lot of these situations, it's not about the man proposing. It's about just basically wanting to sleep with her. And for the actress, it's about wanting to get that role and not wanting to get on someone's bad side. So the dance begins.
And also, again, we should remind the people watching that you are a mental health advocate and a counselor with a master's degree. So, working on it.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
but you're on the progress for it, of course. But how does that background actually inform the content of the book for people that might want to get that type of help?
I definitely feel that it does help my reputability. When I was writing my health and fitness books, the Model Body Plan, I found it very important during that time to get my personal trainer's license, my sports nutrition license, become Miss New York on behalf of fighting eating disorders at the Women of Achievement pageant, get my own class at the YMCA that I was teaching, and then write the book. I think it's really important to be reputable. And as I was writing the Swipe series, that's when I started taking master's degree classes. I got certified as a mental health peer counselor, and I started working as well with children who live with autism and dealing with management and their parents so we could all have that strong team for the kids. I thought it was so important to interview people, put myself in certain situations, kind of like a bond agent, kind of go undercover a little bit and get some answers. And I think it's really important to be reputable if you're going to put out a book like this.
It's true. This book is open for anybody to read, but is there any particular audience you would say should maybe check this book out, or like if they're in a certain mindset, why they should pick up this book?
I feel like even though it would be good for married couples and it would be good for the poly community, it's just primarily for anyone that wants to indulge in any type of relationship, whether it be a companionship, just dating, committed without monogamy, monogamy without commitment, friends with benefit is even a relationship as well. Any type of relationship and any type of confusion you feel, like what's going on and how to feel safe. This is like a roadmap for you. I did the hard work so you could keep doing what you want to do and get the quick answers from me, who toiled over this for years, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So now you've done all this research, you've put out this book, it's
Yeah.
a companion to the previous book.
Yeah.
And given what you've learned and all the research that you've done, do you see potential in this as a screenplay for a film? Because I think there could be
Oh,
something here that would be timely.
that's such a beautiful question. I feel like the way the book is written, it's not as like something that would be I don't know if a writer would be able to take the chapters and turn each chapter into a scene, but I think if the book is written as a whole, there's a story there 100% that I think could change people's lives and pretty much blow their mind. I don't think there's anything like this out there. Good question. Maybe it could be you, Andre.
Yeah,
True.
I got my experiences.
Amazing. Can help a lot of people.
Yeah, so what kind of key takeaways can viewers and readers get from the book, and what do you hope to gain from it?
I wanted to help even just one person change their life, and then that person could domino effect and change other people's lives. That's definitely one thing. I definitely understand that a lot of the projects I put out on my own are independent, and they may have to piggyback off of like my next film or something like that to get any kind of viewer attention outside of like my basic audience on social media. Um, I feel like one of the things I'm most proud of in this book is I kind of wrote it backwards. I started at the fault line, what goes wrong in relationships and communication, and I analyzed cheating and people and their trauma and people that are afraid to be cheated on and lied to, and then on the other hand, people that just feel suffocated being in a relationship, and I analyze that as well. And I feel like if we look at cheating in a way of, is it really as wrong if it's allowed? Not allowed, but hey, listen, take this scenario. Don't cheat emotionally. Don't cheat physically. But if you do, let me know, and I might let it slide, or I might do the same, or I might take a break. But at least I'll feel empowered enough and we're not going to become enemies. And if you do cheat physically, and let's just say you're confused if you want to be with her or me, we just take a break physically for a while, try her out for a while, and then move on with her, or realize she's not right for you. And if I didn't find anyone else in that way, we get you retested, and then we see if we could start again. But if you keep doing that all the time, it is going to break us eventually. But don't take advantage of this. But just more of like an open talk between people might help save marriages and relationships. Now, I'm not condoning cheating, but if we have these safety plans for if or when they do happen, I think it could save a lot of people's relationship and lives, health wise. And for the people that do physically attack when these things happen, at least they'll be prepared. and they'll know what's up, and they don't feel like they're being played because they're being told the truth.
Well, I like the fact that you pretty much are a writer, because you start with your either the ending or the hypothesis, and you kind of work backwards to there where you can build to it or what causes it. So I just wanted to say, like, well, as soon as you said that, that would checked off in my mind, like, oh, that's what like most writers do. So I just want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
One other question I have for you. So there's an issue I've heard from some women, not anybody that I know personally, but just stuff that I see online about, they feel like guys need to shoot their shot more. And I think that because of Me Too and because of this very divisive environment that we're in, I feel like it's a lot harder to do now without walking on eggshells or feeling like any little thing you do comes off creepy. Something as, chivalry as buying a girl flowers or to give them certain compliments. Something that used to be so innocent and simple at one time now seems to be these days that it's almost crossing a line that ends up making that person uncomfortable. So how do guys like us manage to navigate that and not fall into the trap of being, the cliche toxic male?
It's like a seesaw because there's two sides to this. On one hand, you want to be able to express your admiration for people. However, on the other hand, you don't want to be taken the wrong way. So that type of situation leads me to believe that it could come with a little bit of sharing an intention, like, hi, we've been dating a little while. We went on a couple great dates. I bought you these flowers today to simply show you that I think you're special. Or if you do have an intention and you want to be your girlfriend, I brought you these flowers today to show you that I want to move closer into commitment if you're comfortable with that. Like, to actually make the offering along with what you want to offer, and then possibly what you might want from that person. It just comes with a little bit more communication these days.
Yeah, definitely. No, go ahead if you have another question. Go ahead.
No, what I was going to ask is, are there any future plans, any projects you're going to work on soon, or anything you have coming up? It doesn't have to be film related, just in general.
Oh yeah, so I'm so excited about my next fights in boxing as a ring card girl. As I was saying, I posted the invitation on my Instagram wall, and I'll be walking. This is my second time performing at Madison Square Garden. The first time was when I was modeling for Richie Rich, doing runway, which I'm very proud of because I'm 5'3", so I was trying to break the way for petite models there. And now as a round card model, I'm very proud to be hosting the Winter Film Festival Awards and then throwing you your after party for your well-deserved award that you just won at the Urban Action Film Festival Awards. So congratulations on that, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm excited to host. I'm excited to round card model, and I'm excited to continue going on with the promotions of my book. And then my agent actually moved back to New York. So, with everything going on with the pandemic, the strike, the fires in LA, and all of the tragedies we all experienced, hopefully the actors out there who have suffered, lost their homes even worse, but have had their careers delayed because of the natural catastrophes in the world. I hope we all have a chance to get back in now. However, I'm so blessed to be healthy, happy, safe, and to have my loved ones as well feel the same way. And I'm also feeling very blessed that even though acting is my main passion in life, I'm so glad to have a partner to it, which is my counseling profession and my writing, where I could go out there and help as many people as possible when I'm not on set. So I feel like I have a very fulfilling life that I wish upon others as well, because it feels great to be doing what you love in life.
Yes, definitely. Now, with always keeping yourself busy. Like, what do you do like when you need to treat yourself or have fun?
I don't remember the last time gosh, I think one of the last times I actually went out and had fun, Andre and I decided to check out didn't we go to the Gramercy Hotel bar, Andre?
Yes, yeah, right before
Yeah, we had a
Christmas.
great time. My boy Matt Compatello from he's a round card announcer. He came out too. Jeff, you should have came maybe next time, but I'll head up like Andre and we'll check out a cool hotel bar or something like that if we're lucky enough to have a good DJ out. Like I have to check out my friend Prince Terrence. He's a phenomenal DJ. I'll get to dance. Um, but that's far and few in between. Everyone knows I love karaoke and I'm a rapper, so that's always something fun. I love going to the gym, and I also, believe it or not, I have to do my own styling for all of my events. So it's pretty interesting to like shop for gowns, learn how to do my own makeup, learn how to like, it's almost like painting a face, color coordination, textures. So I've been learning a lot about Japanese makeup lately and a lot of fashion, which has been nice, but the downtime is just really small these days. I've hardly had time to go to the gym even these days, but I'm kind of a clean freak. I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. I'm always cleaning, I'm always organizing, I'm always on to my next task. But there'll be time for fun one day again soon.
Okay. And well, definitely me and Andre discovered a karaoke place we definitely have to take you to. That I
Yeah,
asked my
that
birthday.
too.
So,
That's always fun. Yeah, that type of thing and dancing. Gosh, I haven't been to like museums were like always something, and like you think I would say my favorite might be like the Guggenheim, but it's actually the Museum of Natural History. I love the the planetarium, the dinosaurs, the stones, Egypt. A very I like walking into the exhibits. I love at the Metropolitan, I believe that furniture exhibit, the Victorian furniture is stunning. But I don't really like lately have much time. When I'm running around on castings in Manhattan sometimes and it's warmer out, and let's just say there's 2 hours between a casting, I might pop into the Metropolitan Museum really quickly. But these days, uh, I know, all work and no play makes Jack a very dull boy, but I'll have my time to have fun again. It's coming. Maybe as the spring starts approaching. I do a lot of SAG screeners too, guys. I know Andre knows about that, Jeff. You should know too. Like, such a privilege being a member of SAG. We get to get plus ones to all the hottest new movie premieres, Q&As, and I get to see a lot of super cool movies, very tiny, like little 50-person theaters. The actors come afterwards and you could ask them any questions you want. Network. So SAG screeners are like a big thing for me. And then I just really love going to the boxing events, being a part of it, being in the ring and rooting for our favorite fighters. I've been really involved in the boxing world for about 5 years now. Just went pro because I was an amateur for a while. I'm sure I'm leaving stuff out. I love watching movies, but yeah, I watch a lot of my movies at SAG screening, and SAG. They've really done a lot for me. They featured me on their page holding my SAG card. I got like so many thousands of likes and so much support on that. That definitely helped me. And I don't care what anyone. I've heard comments like some actors feel like they're never getting enough, but like I feel like SAG gives me so much. The features, the free movie tickets, the networking opportunities, the opportunities to be a part of voting, and even part of membership if I wanted to, let's say, join the board or something. I have that opportunity too. They do so much for us as actors. And they even have like great contracts where if it isn't like super high budget, like that actors could still be involved. Like Andre and I were just talking about that the other day. It's possible, you know?
Okay.
So as we wrap up, what advice would you give to your readers about navigating these complex times of social interaction in the digital age?
I know it's really like in your face, but if you have a good vibe from someone and the guy is willing to take you out and show you a good time, sure, you could do it on person, but if he's like on shaky ground in his life, switching jobs, doesn't have that kind of time or resource to just throw out. You don't want to waste someone's time, women. Just come up with your top 5 deal breaker kind of things. Like for me, I'll get a little personal here. I am 100% spiritual. And so therefore it wouldn't work for me personally to date an agnostic or an atheist, for example. Why waste someone's time and money if you know at the end of the line you can't end up with that? Now, I'm not talking about like titles as far as like agnostic or atheist. I'm trying to say, like, for example, most of the women in my life that meant the world to me, they died. So I talk to their spirit and I pray to God every day. So if I'm dating someone that doesn't believe they're an afterlife and they catch me there talking to the wall, now you tell me, guys, how's that going to work? Okay. So there's that. And maybe we could go around the room because it's going to be fun. Number 2, I don't want to have a kid. So basically, if someone comes with a kid, that's cool. If someone wants to adopt or get a surrogate, go for it. It ain't gonna be living in this body that I'm using for my career and modeling. That's my decision. That's my choice. So if a guy wants to start a family, a natural family with someone, why waste your time and your money on me? I'm not gonna give that to you. That's number 2. Number 3, I'm anti-drug. I'm not talking about weed or a couple drinks, but I'm anti-drug. Drug addicts, meaning if someone wants to go to Coachella and like trip on something that once that year, I might not leave them. But like people that do drugs every weekend, that's not going to be for me. People that are on certain SSRIs, I've tried to date people with mental health disabilities. I was open-minded to that. But guess what? Being that I'm in an office all day dealing with it, I prefer that the highest level of mental health disability I can deal with in other people is anxiety, like I have. I'm unable to deal with that. Why am I going to take that opportunity away from someone else that could deal with it if I know that I can't romantically? Okay. So any type of drugs, SSRIs, and me, we don't blend dating wise, usually. But if I do try it out, okay, possibility it could work, but there's a possibility it won't too. Now I'm not putting a stigma on it or anything like that, because I have friends and clients that have certain mental health disabilities. Romantically, for some reason, with me, so far it hasn't worked out. That's all I'm saying, because I've tried to do that. I've tried to be the nurse and the girlfriend. It has not worked out for me, just being honest. Number 4, I am old-fashioned. So if a guy wants me to be modern, he ain't going to be too happy with me. However, if I'm dating in the industry and because I'm dating him, my money's going up because we're dating, he gets that money, of course. You understand what I mean? But like, as far as like, he's pulling out the chair, he's opening the door, he's paying the bill. That's me. That's why you guys could ask me any question you want, because I'm her. Ain't a gold digger, but it's the way I am. So that's my top 4 thing. And let's just say if there's a 5th, yeah, I'd say you can't be avoidant. You have to be willing to be able to confront things, address things, and not shy away from confrontation, having a little spat, a disagreement, agreeing to disagree. People that are a little too PC and afraid to address things, I need a little tougher than that. I think those are pretty much my top 5. I want to go around the room.
No.
Yes, give me your 5 deal breakers, guys. Come on. I want to hear this.
Andre, you could go first.
Okay. I feel like it'd be more than 5, but I could limit it to 5. So
Fine.
one would be, I don't mind if the girl's spiritual, but I don't want them to be a strict religious person, that they have to do their prayers at every meal, or that everything is driven by Jesus and God. Not that it's a bad thing. It helps a lot of people, but it's just sometimes people take it way too literally sometimes, to where it's like, even just to loosen up a bit can be a chore. So I don't want somebody that's like overly strict about religion.
I got you. Spiritual, but not religious. Yes.
Right, exactly. It's got to be somebody, again, like you said, no drugs. And I even go further than that, no smoking. Now, if you do dabble in weed and it's occasional, that's fine. But if you're going to go and be obsessed with that, and even just smoking in general, I'm not for that. And that probably leads to my third thing, which is everybody's got issues, everybody has their trauma, but when their trauma is affecting the relationship to the degree where they're making excuses for why they can't do certain things or spend time, that's a deal breaker as well. When you're constantly making excuses about things that happen in your history that
Yeah.
are preventing you from doing
Yeah.
things that could generally be fun. And they don't have to be crazy like bungee jumping, but it could just be as much as just going out of town for a few days and just unwinding a bit.
Yeah.
That's my third. The fourth would be, for me, it's got to be somebody that, for me in my profession, I do feel as I've gotten older and the dating experiences that I've had, is there are a lot of girls I meet not in my field who really don't understand what I do. And they find that when I say that I'm a filmmaker, and even no matter how much I show them what I've accomplished, and I could show them the trailer to my work, I could show them whatever awards I've won, they still may not take me that seriously because I don't have a city job with a pension and a 401k. And that's not my life. So I want to be with somebody that, I could support and cheer for, but I'd love to have someone that supports what I do, isn't trying to discourage me, and importantly, that they are somebody that when I do have those tough days, it's somebody I can lean on, not like, make them my therapist, but just someone that I know I'm okay with, like everything's going to be all right. And I would say
Yeah.
the fifth thing that's a deal breaker is kind of goes hand in hand, that expectation. And I'm not going to name names here, but I'm going to say there are certain people that think I'm too Hollywood and would rather go with somebody that's very blue collar and be a
Hollywood?
yeah, and be a provider and to be all of these things that I am not. Not that I don't want to get to the provider part, but I certainly am not in the position for that right now. And I am somebody that, again, I believe in the 50-50 street. I support you, you support me, and not this equal, this off balance equilibrium where I got to do all the work or she's got to do all the work. It's got to go hand in hand. And it's got to be somebody that if I go out and I do something that I like, and you may enjoy it or you don't, I got to be able to do the same and feel the same way. So, the two-way street, I believe, is what makes a relationship healthy.
Do you mean like 50-50, like splitting the bills type of 50-50, or like if she gives you emotional support, you'll take out the garbage and pay her cell phone bill? Like, is it like, does it have to be the same thing that's 50-50?
Well, that kind of leads to a transparency issue. Like if it's something that's talked about and there's a mutual understanding, that's fine. I don't have any problem with that aspect of it. But I do agree, yes, the emotional part that I'm there for you, you're there for me,
Right.
because we're all kind of in it together. We all have our struggles, no matter what profession you're in. So I would want somebody that I know that if I'm going through things, I can talk to them and I could feel some level of comfort that I may not get from my regular friends or anybody else because they're too busy with their own lives.
Right. That's a great list.
Yeah, mine is going to be very bad in comparison. Hey, keep in mind, I haven't dated in quite a while, so.
And by the way, I like your nail polish.
Oh, thank you. They're growing out, unfortunately, but I still have the color in them. So,
Yeah.
um, okay. I think I feel like I'm gonna have to be like Andre and explain what I mean after the initial statement. Like this one might seem a little superficial. You can't have bad hygiene. I'm not like a germaphobe or anything, but bad hygiene that I don't know. It's like it just bothers me. You know, I know some people, you know, might not believe in, let's say, necessarily washing or showering or bathing every day, but that is something I can understand if like you're going camping. But I feel like I sound like a Seinfeld episode right now. But yeah, I can't deal with like bad hygiene. I mean, again, we can maybe be friends, but dating wise, no. Trust me, that's the most superficial out of my list. I agree. I can't deal with somebody who's avoidant with just general conversation or their emotions. I'm not asking, as soon as I meet you, tell me everything. But if you're not willing to discuss how you're feeling, especially when it's something important or we're supposed to be in a relationship or even just dating, that's going to be very hard because I'm a very open person. So I find that, if anything, that might be what makes either the people I want to date either run away or maybe I shoot myself in the foot by being so open with them so soon that it's like, okay, this is way too much, you know, and we're just supposed to be starting dating. Let's see, what else did I write down?
Can I make a comment about that?
You
by
can.
the way,
Yeah, no
it
problem.
doesn't seem too much. But sometimes when I feel people are taking me as intense instead of just who I am, I tend to throw in, oh, I don't mean you. I don't mean you want to have kids one day with me. I mean, I'm just asking you if you want to have kids, I won't even date you, type of thing. I just want to know that I'm not here to ruin your life. It's not about you, it's about me.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes people think others are intense because they think they're asking directly to that person, like, do you want to have kids, do you want to get married? It's like, no, 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 not to me, in general. So that tends to help.
Okay, I will definitely keep that in mind. This one, it goes hand in hand, but I consider it the same. I need, if I'm going to date you, you have to be open minded. You know, I don't like, you know, I'm pretty liberal, pretty much politics. I have my beliefs. That doesn't matter to me so much when I'm with a person, but you can't be totally closed minded on certain things, especially when it comes to human beings and other people. You know, I understand we all have our beliefs and how we feel about certain subjects, but I need somebody who's going to be a little more open minded and open in general, which also goes with open communication. You know, you have to
Yeah.
let me know things just as I'm letting you know things. I'm not a mind reader and you know, I'm a little socially awkward, so I'm not going to pick up on signals and clues sometimes unless you tell me, you know, or if something's bothering you. Don't be, you know, sitting in silence the whole time and I'm supposed to guess what is wrong.
Right, you're not a mind
Yeah.
reader. Exactly.
Like if you're
Exactly.
going to walk somebody to their car and it's a problem that you don't do it because of some past experience that was bad, tell them it was a problem the first time so you don't make that mistake again rather than cutting them off completely.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes.
I definitely agree with that. This one, I think, I used to think it was more younger people, but I'm finding it more and more with a lot of people. If we are together, like just being social, it's not even dating. Please, if you get an important message, fine, check your cell phone. But if we're talking, don't decide, oh, I have to check what's on Instagram while you're talking to me, you know, because we're here to kind of make a connection, even if it's friendship and we're just catching up. That's just very rude, you know?
Yeah, it's rude.
Yes, or at least tell me like, oh, I have to check something. Then I don't mind. At least, again, it comes down to the open communication. Then I'm like, okay, cool, But just doing it again, it's sort of like when you're at the movies and somebody just flashes out their phone and it's this darkened theater. It's just like it's so like rude and appalling because you're like,
it's so rude.
Yes, and you're like, and then you start to question yourself, like, am I that boring to this person? There's a person I know who I always tell Andre about. I'm not naming names, but this person to me doesn't seem to understand, that they're kind of being rude or never considers we're supposed to be friends, but never necessarily considers my feelings, even though I've done nothing but consider theirs the whole time, so that I never really say anything. But then I'm getting to that point now where I realize, like, why am I wasting my time? And I deserve better. I think
we're.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think what we're talking about here is you originally treat people the way they treat you. The golden rule.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the platinum rule is you treat people the way they want to be treated. But now you're getting to a point where you want to start treating them the way they're treating you to show them how it feels. Am I hearing that right?
I kind of either want to show them, like, as an example, like you said, how they're treating me. So I'm going to treat you the same way. And if you get upset, how do you think I feel?
Thank you.
As I'm getting older, I'm also at that where it's not worth it. I'm just going to totally wash my hands of you, and then maybe if you start asking, oh, why don't you call anymore? Why don't you ever want to hang out? Then I can fully explain myself.
Right. There we go. Right. So, there you go.
It's sort of like, I believe in the talking here for a lot of things. So that is why I feel like with that. And sorry, trying to read my own handwriting for this last one. I mean, this is, again, more superficial. You don't have to be an actor, an artist, or anything. But again, it goes back to open-minded. I would like it if you're into the arts, because then I feel like maybe that's because that's more something I can talk about maybe a little more easily than
that has been in common.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, whereas if you're going to talk about nuclear fusion, it's like, I can listen and I'll stay interested, but not too many openings for a conversation in there. But, I like people of, diverse backgrounds, whatever they want to talk about. I will show interest in whatever they're talking about. But, that is, I just, prefer somebody who's into the arts, even if they're not making the arts or they don't consider themselves an artist themselves.
Right, at least, right.
Yeah, so that is my 5. I'm sure I could go into little subsections, but
we all could.
That is just my main 5. And
this was fun.
Yeah, very revealing too.
Mm-hmm. So Aesha, remind our audience where they can find your book and where they can follow you on social media.
Okay, so my social media, the best place to find me is Instagram, Aesha Waks, which is AES as in Sam, HA, then my middle name Hash, HAS as in Sam, H, then Wax, WAKS as in Sam. That's my Instagram. And my book is all over the place, Swipe Again, but you could find it on Barnes & Noble in paperback or digital.
And once again, we want to thank you for being a guest on our show, and you're welcome back anytime, as you know. So again, we just want to thank you. And I think that's it for this episode. But as you know, there's always more unfinished business that we have to tackle in the future. So good night and good luck.
Signing off, boys.
If you like this review, please be sure to like and hit subscribe to be alerted to new episodes in the future.